bright future. We're talking real money.
Boy, it doesn't take any time at all to get through a week, does it? Gee whiz, it seems like I just recorded the past Q&A episode. Because actually, I just did a couple of days ago. I'm recording this one a little early because I need to get it done and into the compliance people and up on the web so that you can listen to it while I'm laying in a hospital bed somewhere recovering from a surgical procedure. I'm getting an ablation done on my heart because I inherited a rhythm problem. I don't have, I have too much rhythm. That's my problem. So I'm getting that done. And so that's my Friday. That's how my Friday is going. This way I can pre-publish the podcast. I won't have the email sent to you until later, but I can have the podcast ready so that you guys on Friday, even though I'm not here, you can listen. So it's Q&A day. Thanks for all of your great questions. We have a lot now. We got low for a while, but now they've perked right back up. We got a couple of weeks worth. And all of those questions came in at talkingrealmoney.com on the Contact Us form. You can also type questions in there, and we'll read them on other podcasts. Or Saturdays, you can call us at 855-935-TALK, 855-935-TALK, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific. And this coming Saturday, because I'm going to be recovering, it will be on the 3rd of May. So if you're listening to this podcast after the 3rd of May, then it doesn't matter anymore. Tom will be doing the Saturday show alone, and he will need your company. So give him a call, 855-935-8255. Now we need to get to the questions, though, because we've got several very good ones, starting with this one.
Hey, Don. This is Michael from Cleveland. I have a question for you. Been a Fidelity member for a little while now, and one of the things that I wanted to do with Fidelity was I set up a HSA there, and along with that, we have the Fidelity 2% cash back card. So all of our spending, the 2% gets to go into that, and I have that in a brokerage account there, shared with my wife. And I was looking at some of the trade confirmations for a recent purchase, and it's for the one of their zero funds, FNILX. And I had the extra cash from our credit card post into the account, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to throw it, as I've done before, into the FNILX. And I'm looking at this trade statement, and in the description and disclosures, it states that the Fidelity Zero Large Cap Index Fund, we have acted as agent, $50 charge for foreign ordinary stock orders included. So, what gets me is it was for essentially $40 of interest from our credit card that we received. I make this trade. Am I essentially taking $10 away from my brokerage account with this? So I'm concerned. I didn't get any notification when completing this transaction for that. Maybe I just didn't read far enough down into the fine print, but just looking to get a better understanding of this so that I don't continue to make this mistake if that's the case. Thanks for your time.
Sounds to me as if that is just a very ordinary boilerplate disclosure. It doesn't apply in this case. The key is they said ordinary stock order. What they're talking about is if you place an order to buy a foreign stock on a foreign exchange, then they're going to charge a $50 fee on top of whatever else they're going to charge for doing business on a foreign exchange, because this $50 fee doesn't apply. One, it doesn't apply to something that isn't ordinary stock, and two, it doesn't apply. I read the disclosure elsewhere. It does not apply to ADRs, American Depository Receipts, because that's where a company puts the stock in the United States and creates a U.S. traded stock. So it's still traded like a regular U.S. stock. It's only if you're buying a stock on a foreign exchange. So in this case, it doesn't apply to you, and you are not doing a darn thing wrong. Let's do another question.
Hey, Tom and Don, this is Andrew. All right, here it goes. 59, 3 years to retirement. Didn't kill it, but we'll have 2 pensions, $6,000. 1 SSI at 62, $2,000. Emergency fund, $25,000. No major debt. 5 years left on my house after retirement. Retirement savings of $500,000. Roughly. Still roughly 70-30 to funds for life strategy. Funds are SWIFX and AVUV. All Roth. Ending at a 60-40 split. That's what I want to have my portfolio out when I retire. Understand risk. I do understand the risk. Need roughly $2,000 from my retirement money. Is that possible? And should I wait for SSI? I mean, do you think I should wait? Those are my 2 questions. I'd really like your opinion. Thank you, sir.
See how good the quality can be on I'm sure that was on his phone because he was outside. The quality's so good on these new phones. Holy cow, particularly when you record on the internet, as opposed to just a phone call, which compresses everything down. Anyway, your question. You are ragged edging it. You really are. You're right at the ragged edge. Yeah, you could probably do the $2,000 with a flexible withdrawal strategy where you take 5% of the value every year and then you adjust your spending so you can get close. You'll be over some years, under others a little bit. I would find a way to delay retirement for maybe 3 or 4 years, at least total retirement, so that you can get that Social Security way up. At least get to full retirement age. Because if you don't get to full retirement age, you're like just giving them money. You're giving them 8% every year, giving other people in Social Security, because you're not at a way above your comfort level. You're right at it. That's the biggest rule. Plus, it makes sense just to wait if you can. It might make sense even if you take just a little, maybe you go to a 6% withdrawal rate for the first 3 or 4 or 5 years, and cut some costs or pick up some extra income doing something on the side so that you can wait. If you can afford to wait. But yeah, you're really, really close. Working a couple of more years could make a ton of difference, though, particularly if you keep saving a little bit. You can get that savings account up, that Roth. And I'm not opposed to 60-40. You said you know risk. You understand it. You're not going to panic. You're not going to do something dumb. 60-40 is a perfectly acceptable allocation for somebody who knows their heart. They know they won't panic. So, yeah, I'd wait on Social Security, and you're close. And thanks. And boy, those bells were very clear, weren't they? Send your questions in at talkingrealmoney.com or call us on Saturdays at 855-935-TALK, Saturday afternoon starting at 3 p.m. Let's take this next question.
Hey, Tom and Don, this is Jeff from Wisconsin. Just was curious your thoughts on the new Wealthfront S&P 500 direct indexing portfolios. Looks like it requires a $20,000 minimum balance with a 0.09% management fee. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks.
The fees are great. The minimum, okay, that's lovely, I guess. However, really, I mean, you don't want to have the bulk of your portfolio in the S&P 500. or you don't want to have a huge. It'll end up being a small position, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, with a smaller portfolio. And really, the biggest benefits of direct indexing accrue to those with multi-million-dollar accounts. Tens of millions, not hundreds of thousands. It becomes gimmicky at hundreds of thousands because the tax savings are so small. They're negligible. They're almost non-existent, really, when you're down to those levels, six-figure levels, even low seven-figure levels. They're not very large because if you just own ETFs, for example, the funds can have all kinds of capital gains, but you're only going to get taxed in a taxable account. And by the way, they don't make any sense in a tax-free account, in a Roth or a regular IRA or 401k. But you're only going to get taxed on the income distributed in most ETFs that are equity ETFs. So it's not like there's a big gain being accrued. And the other problem I have with direct indexing, and if you look, it's right there on Wealthfront's website, you can pick your index. You can say, I want the S&P 500, but I don't want these companies. Well, what? That makes you a stock picker. And then you're going to start playing like you know more than the market, which you don't, and you can't, and you never will long term. You might get lucky once in a while, but you're not going to get it regularly. Again, I see value in direct indexing, but I don't see it for anybody with portfolios, certainly for portfolios under $1 million. Over the course of years, what little you gain in taxes will probably be offset by the slightly, even in this case, very low fees. Not excited. Gimmick. It's a gimmick to get people to come to Wealthfront, in my opinion. Let's see. We've got more. Yeah. Here's another question that came in through talkingrealmoney.com on the Contact Us form, and somebody hit that little mic button and recorded it, just like this.
Hello, Don. Two questions about retirement when I turn 65. First would be a pension that I have at work that would pay me a few dollars short of $1,000 a month. If I annuitize it, and the cash value would be roughly $140,000, $150,000 if I cash it out. What do you guys recommend, or what percent do you recommend taking versus cashing out a pension? And second, for 401k funds at work, in my case, I have Fidelity. Do you recommend keeping the funds in there or moving them to a separate account? Thanks.
Fidelity's a great custodian. I don't see any issue with keeping your account at Fidelity. Unless you have another IRA elsewhere other than that account, then you might want to combine them just for ease of operation. As for the other question, this question is asked a lot. And if I'm being honest, which I try to be all the time, it's a question that's almost impossible to answer. Because there's so much that goes into knowing the scenario required to arrive at a reasonable answer. $140,000 is going to generate, best case scenario, probably about less than $600 a month, probably about $500 to $600 a month without taking ridiculous risk. So it's less every month, but the principal belongs to you. It's really going to come down to what your needs are when you retire. If you need that higher income and you're not comfortable taking a little bit of risk with the portfolio to get to that $550, $600 a month figure that you might get, then you go with the annuity option because there's some certainty to it, and it's a pretty good payout. That's a pretty substantial payout. But remember, when you do that, the money is gone forever, and you got to make sure that something is in place if there's somebody else who relies on some of that money or whatever the situation is. Again, there's just so much to the situation, which is why it's so important to get personalized help, particularly when you're approaching retirement. particularly. And in a case like this, your portfolio is too small for a firm like ours to manage. But that's okay. That's why we don't want everybody, or we don't want anybody to be without at least some sort of help, which is why we offer everybody help for free. We won't manage your portfolio for free, okay? But we will help you. So go to talkingrealmoney.com and click on Meet an Advisor and at least get some idea about what your needs might be. It's not going to be a long-term plan, but it can help you. Thanks for the question, and I think we're on to the last one of the episode.
Hi, Tom and Don. This is Debbie in Texas. Quick question. I want to add international to my portfolio. I'm considering IXUS and VEU. Which do you prefer or recommend? Thank you.
Again, listen to the birds. The quality's so good. This is why I love taking questions this way. They're better than even on the telephone. My goodness, one of these days we're going to figure out a way to do this live, too, for the Saturday show. Take them this way rather than over the phone lines. Much better quality. All right, anyway, to the question. Given the choice between those two funds, just those two funds, the VEU, which is the Vanguard FTSE, FTSE All World XUS Index, or the iShares product, which is, what's the name of it again? Hold on. iShares Core MSCI Total Stock Index, Total International Stock Index. The differences are so small. They're tiny. I mean, get this. Difference between expense ratios. The iShares, 0.07. The Vanguard, the VEU, 0.04. So Vanguard wins slightly, but we're now to the point where we are literally talking a difference of pennies. Portfolios. FTSE versus MSCI. They have different ways of categorizing countries. One of them, I think it's, MSCI, South Korea is still considered an emerging market, while in FTSE, it's a full-fledged developed market, which it really is. But FTSE has more countries in it than MSCI, although the MSCI portfolio has far more stocks in it. 3,800 in the VEU versus IXUS at 4,200. So the differences are just almost non-existent. I guess if you're with Vanguard and Vanguard's cheaper, then Vanguard wins, but they win by a nanometer, which is way less than the thickness of a strand of hair. Yeah, it's so small. But thanks for the question anyway. Thank you all for the great questions, and thank you all for listening, because I really do appreciate the listening. I mean, the question and answer episodes are among our most popular, and that really warms my heart. You like listening to these. And I love that you asked the question. So remember, you go to talkingrealmoney.com, click on the Contact Us form, record your question using your phone or computer mic, or type it in, or on Saturday afternoons, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific, call 855-935-8255. As a matter of fact, we do a show every Saturday that you don't have to be in Seattle to listen to it. You can listen to it online. Just look for Talking Real Money on Northwest News Radio. Easy. All right? Thanks for being there. Tell your friends. And remember, you can also get some free help out of us, out of our good folks at Appella Wealth, by just going to talkingrealmoney.com and clicking on Meet an Advisor, and you won't get any sales pitch or anything. We just help. I mean, if you want us to work for you, we will, because that's what we do for a living, but we're not going to make you or pressure you. Thanks. Take care. And I'm Don McDonald. I'll just be hanging out talking real money.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services. Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. Is anybody still listening?